Hello, everybody. On this rainy day in Texas, we're under flood watches, and a lot of my neighbors are underwater. So I'm sitting here high and dry, and you see how dark it is in my room? That's because more rain's coming. It's crazy. And I've just been resting because my kidney disease has just flared up like crazy. But while I rest, I don't ever like sleep or rest really. I'm listening to my information on the Gaia channel, which I recommend everybody going and getting a subscription. It's $100 a year, best money you'll ever spend. It'll enlighten you, and you'll really relate to my videos more if you know where I'm coming from. So one of the shows I've been watching that actually has it's very interesting, and the thing is, it's foundational. The information they're talking about is kind of how our country was set up, and it's so exciting because it's very ancient. Okay, so when you look in our ancient past, one of the things I'm learning is about Atlantis and Lemuria and how they were probably back 100,000 years ago and highly advanced. So you're talking about ultra terrestrial star people coming down, colonizing the planet, setting up their high technology civilization. They were flying around the earth. They were using portals to go back to their homes and get around. So all this stuff has been happening for a very long time on this planet. We aren't even as advanced as they were. We don't even come close. Our secret space program is trying to gather this technology by going to Iraq and other places where this technology has been hidden, these stargates they've been looking for, because the secret space program wants to obviously get into a spaceship type thing and go to other planets, which they're doing. And so that's really interesting information also, and that's on Cosmic Disclosure. So get Gaia and you'll learn all about this stuff, you guys. You'll be as weird as me soon, and you'll love it. Going down the rabbit hole is like a crazy journey. But anyway, I want to talk about the Knights Templar. So if you want to talk about the Atlantean civilization and all the high-tech stuff and all of the highly philosophical and spiritual concepts that came from there, um, you they colonized Egypt. They colonized a lot of places around the planet before they went under, and they were warring. Atlantis was more left brain, very high technological. Lemuria was more heart centered. That's why the Asian cultures have the meditation principles. They go within to find the divine, whereas the Atlanteans were more westernized and they wanted technology to advance themselves. Well, they ended up, destroying themselves with their crystal energies. They were running everything off crystal energy. And yeah, the planet was a different place back then. These pyramids are way older than people know, too, because it was part of the energy grid. So they would build these sacred temples and monuments and huge megalith structures with these huge stones. They would levitate the stones in place, and they would create these perfectly mathematical to the corresponding to constellations in the sky, hiding information in those measurements that would basically tell you all about the sun and the moon and the earth relationships. And that's how you know that this is high-tech culture. This wasn't some primitive person that had, a bunch of slaves and we're putting these big, huge blocks in place. That doesn't even make sense. They can't even duplicate a small pyramid these days. Okay, so when you really learn this information, it's very exciting because it all starts to make sense. Obviously, there's a high technology that came in and created Egypt, and Egypt has a lot of secrets. A lot of secrets that the Egyptian authorities are hiding because they want to keep it for themselves. They want to say that Egyptians created this. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, Egypt is not really Egypt. A long time ago, the name was Kem. and they were Chemites, and that's where we get the word chemistry and alchemy. So these are very old concepts, very ancient knowledge, and so we can learn a lot. I would love to go there. That would be on my bucket list before I died, to go to Egypt, because I hear that the whole entire city is set up with so much sacred geometry and energy that you can feel it when you get off the plane. I mean, just landing in Cairo, you feel it. And there's so much healing in these temples, and they use sound to heal, and there's just a lot of really cool technology that the archaeologists aren't allowed to really talk about. It's really crazy. But so this ancient knowledge that basically, so you know about Enki and Enlil, the Sumerian gods that came from another planet. They say it's Nibiru. Probably 300,000 or 400,000 years ago. So they were here before Lemuria and Atlantis. And I believe that Enki, who was the one that loved us and created us, he was the brother. And notice that they're brothers, kind of like the Gemini twins in the sky, kind of like Cain and Abel. There's this recurring story. And all the stories of the Bible are allegorical, which means that they're metaphorical, and they're talking about transformations and transmutations. We take it literal, and that's not the way you're supposed to read the Bible. You're supposed to understand the larger meaning behind what they're really saying. And so Enki created Lemuria. He is the one that was teaching people how to heal with plants. He was the one teaching peaceful means. And Lil, he was such a jealous brother. He was the one in charge of Earth, whereas Enki was told to go to the underworld and to live in the sea. He was Poseidon. And so basically what they did was took on different names of different gods, like Zeus was Enlil. Enlil was the god of the Bible. He was Yahweh. He was Jehovah. He was the angry one, telling us that we had to live a certain way, and if we went against his rules, that he would destroy us. That's Enlil. Enlil created the flood. He was tired of all the yammering that we do. He doesn't like us. He wants to keep us down. He's the one that supports oppressive regimes and keeping us a slave race. And he so far has dominated. Enki, every time he creates a wonderful culture like the Mayans, that was Enki. And they were peaceful, loving. All the South American indigenous people talk about Quetzalcoatl, and Enki was Quetzalcoatl, the plumed serpent. So every time he created a peaceful, loving culture, Enlil would come in and destroy it. And Enlil came in down in South America and was a different kind of god, and basically started telling them to kill each other, and he wanted human sacrifice. Of course he did. He wanted to kill us. He wants us to keep down. He wants us to be oppressed. Well, anyway, the story that's so strong, and I'm trying to tell you about Enki, this peaceful, loving creator of us, is the energy that Knights Templar kept alive against the Catholic Church, right under their nose. When you get Gaia, you guys, you've got to watch the Knights Templar series. It will blow your mind. I'm just giving you an overview of what it's about. There's so many details. There's so much information that's amazing and blows your mind. So right under the nose of the Catholic Church, who tried to destroy the Gnostics. Now the Gnostics are a very interesting sect of people. They're basically, if you were to say, what would Enki create as a religion, or just a belief system? Not even really a religion. Gnosticism isn't really a religion. Gnostics means knowledge of the divine. So the Essenes, of which Jesus studied under, they were Gnostics. And they wrote all the Dead Sea Scrolls, which is a very important thing for you guys to start researching. Looking up the Nag Hammadi texts. Those were the scrolls found in the cave. They talk about, I think you could read the Gospel of Philip. You got Ezekiel, Enoch, Thomas. All these books were cut out of the Bible because they discussed the star people. And the Bible didn't want it to be so flagrant. There's a lot of stories of the Anunnaki in the Bible. Matter of fact, most of the stories you can tie back to Anunnaki. But it's just so fascinating that these Gnostics were trying to keep this information from Atlantis, from Enki, alive. And so they hid their information in the cave till it was safe. And in 1947, the same year the UFO crashed in Roswell, these Nag Hammadi texts were found. And they started deciphering them. And what they were reading was not what the Bible says. Matter of fact, it's very different than what the Bible's version is. And what's interesting is they talk about Jesus was never crucified, that he was, the crucifixion was, what they did in the ancient days is they made living resurrections. And that's when you go and you kind of go into like a tomb situation where you're put into a, like a, what do you think the sarcophagus is in Egypt? It wasn't for a dead body. That was for a living resurrection ceremony. That's why the walls were so attuned to sound, and why you had the piezoelectric effect of the different kinds of stone, where you had granite with quartz in it, with sandstone and limestone, and you have it layered, and that's an energy generator. And so when you're laying in the sarcophagus, you can leave your body and travel to Sirius. That's the portal. So there's a portal in the Great Pyramid. It takes you back to the star system that's part of where these higher beings have come from, because Anunnaki means people from the stars. It could be any star. It could be Andromeda, it could be Arcturian, Lyrian, Sirian, the Orion Belt, the Pleiadians. All of those are Anunnaki, because it just means people from the stars. And so that's one of the things that when I'm listening to the shows, people don't clarify. It's almost like they have most of the information, but they don't put it together the way that I do, because I listen to a lot of shows because I have a lot of time, because I live alone and I'm very sedentary and I'm not feeling well with my kidney disease. So I am researching and listening to these programs and picking their brains and reading books. Oh my gosh, the books I've been reading are just amazing. And so when you gather all this information, you start putting things together, so that even sometimes when the experts get together, you're like, you guys aren't on the same page. They think that the Anunnaki were just from Nibiru. Well, we were seeded by at least 23 different extraterrestrial races. We have all those DNAs in our DNA. So they each had a little hand in it. Even though Enki initially created us, there's a lot more input from other nations or other civilizations. And the universe is full of life, guys. Don't let NASA tell you anything different. They're holding back so many secrets, you guys. They don't want us to know how powerful we are. That's the big secret. That they want us feeling small. They want us leaning on them and saying, save me, help me. And that's what church does, right? You have to go through a priest to find God, to be forgiven, to go to heaven. Well, Jesus actually was teaching that you have God within you, that you don't need a building and you don't need a priest. And so that's what the Gnostics were preaching. And so when you read about the Gnostics, you understand that what they did was they took this man's message, supposedly killed him, and then murdered millions of Cathars, which were the descendants of the true Christians that were following Jesus, who had a total different way of worshiping him. And it wasn't even about worshiping him. The true followers of Jesus, they were very much admiring Mary Magdalene. She was a very ascended master. Matter of fact, the Knights Templars went around Europe building churches in her honor. Her symbolism is in every cathedral in Europe, and right under the noses of the Catholic Church, they did so many things. And I just laugh when I hear these stories because I'm thinking about this big Catholic Church, thinks they're in charge. They go around the world murdering indigenous people to find the treasure, to bring the gold back, to line their churches with gold that's built off blood of these beautiful people they destroyed. I mean, when I hear these stories, it makes my stomach turn, and it makes me hate religion even more, of how many millions and millions of people they destroyed, all to have the power to guilt people into going to church to give them money. It makes me sick to my stomach, and it's got to stop. And it's going down. Right now, the new consciousness that's coming in, the new energies coming into the earth, yeah, it's all going to change. We have the financial system crumbling, we have governments crumbling all over the place, and we have religion crumbling because they're all built on sand. Their true foundation is what the Knights Templar were promoting, what they held sacred. They went under the Temple Dome, they found all those treasures, they built up money, they were killed because Prince Philip and the Pope wanted them dead because they owed him money and they wanted more money to do more wars. Well, the Knights Templar were 2 steps ahead of them. They gathered all the treasure they had found, the Holy Grail and all that, the Ark of the Covenant, all of that, and they put it on their ships and they were out of there. And when Friday the 13th came, they only got a handful that sacrificed themselves to be tortured for 7 years because the King of Philip wanted their money so he could make more war. Well, he didn't get any, which was awesome. So, yeah, they burned these poor guys at the stake after 7 years of silence. They wouldn't talk, and they did the same thing. Christopher Columbus, when he went over to America, he went over there telling the King of Spain, hey, I know the Knights Templar took their treasure to North America. I'm going to go over there and find it. So they funded him. He painted red crosses on their sails because that's what the Knights Templar's symbol was. So he was incognito. That's why the Christopher Columbus's sails had a red cross. He was going over there like, hey, yeah, guys, I'm a Knights Templar. I'm one of your brothers. Well, the problem is, if you're in the Brotherhood, there's a certain handshake you got to know. And the Christopher Columbus did not know the handshake. So when he went to meet with the indigenous people and they went to give the handshake, Christopher Columbus didn't know it. So they knew he wasn't a Templar. So he didn't know that there's a way you talk, there's a language you use, and the handshake. And so the indigenous people, they sacrificed their lives for the treasure that was buried all around this continent. It's probably still buried. That's what Oak Island is, right? The Templars built that amazing trap that you guys, I don't know if anyone's followed up on that Oak Island, but it's really crazy. How deep it goes, and the timbers and the layers, and yeah, it was an amazing burial. I think they finally got the treasure out, but there's so many more places like that. Like the Kensington Runestone right there in Wisconsin, smack dab in the middle of the United States. And everyone says it's fake. Well, it's not fake. It is a Templar rune that basically says, this is our land. We got here, and it's a land grab. And so if you look at that, you're like, wow, the Knights Templar really discovered America, if you want to say that. I think they actually beat the Vikings here. The Vikings didn't stay long because they did not mesh with the indigenous people of North America very well. They were very kind of barbaric and headstrong. And the Templars were like the brothers. They actually had the same beliefs of honoring the goddess and Mary Magdalene. the same as the indigenous people. They're very peaceful, very loving, very thoughtful and kind. And so they blended really well over here. And so, but they went up to Scotland and created the Scottish Rite of, oh, what they call that? The Freemasons, right? So they had to change their name. They actually founded Portugal, which is Port of the Grail, to create a country so they'd have a safe place to be. I mean, it's just fascinating. And guess who the first pirates were? The Templars, because so many nations had stolen their wealth when they were chastised, that they wanted their money back. So they started jumping on ships from Spain to France to England and taking their treasure. So the Templars were really the first pirates, because the flag, the way you know that is the flag being the skull and crossbones, is exactly how they buried their brothers when they died. They would put them in a certain shape of the skull and the bones. That's how they would bury them. And so they made that their flag, basically saying to the world, we're still here. You thought you killed us, but we're still here. Yeah, they totally survived. Yeah. The version of history that says, yeah, the Knights Templar were destroyed. They were never destroyed. They were 2 steps ahead. And they founded nations on the principles of freedom and giving people the right to have a voice and to speak. And that's what they founded our country on. And when we went through our revolution, all the treasures that were, not all of them, but some of the treasures that they buried here, they dug them up to pay for the revolution. So they helped found this country. And they actually had a lot to do with, so I believe Jefferson, Ben Franklin, George Washington, John Adams, like all the big wigs, they were Masons, which is that's the Mason comes from the Knights Templar. The same mentality where people should be able to worship whoever they want. You know, there's just whole amazing concepts that founded this nation. So it's just really exciting information. And what really makes my heart smile is how they won up the Catholic Church, how they went around them, how they were able to establish this country to be the new Atlantis. That's what we were supposed to be. So I'm sure they're rolling in the graves of what's happened now with this oppressive government we live under, and the censorship and the freedom of speech going away, and just all the atrocities that this country has done to other countries through our wars and stuff. I mean, it's just, if you truly know our history, it's very dark. And watching the black budgets and the space program and the hybrid programs where they're meshing extraterrestrials with humans in Dulce, New Mexico, it's sad. And they're getting away with it. You know, they're creating so much suffering. And it doesn't have to be like this, you guys. We should be living in a free energy nation. They have the ability to give us free energy, but they make so much money off us being enslaved with our electric bills and gas bills and needing gas for our cars when multiple people have created a water engine that runs on water. And every time someone comes up with the invention, which there's been like 5 to 7 of them, they all die, they all disappear. The patent goes underground. You know, and you got all these patents from Tesla and everywhere that were going to move this society forward, and they just stick them all underground. You know, so much has been kept from us to keep us from growing, being the amazing people that we're supposed to be. And when you look at history, this is the thing that gets me. Like, I'm really into Egypt, right? And I'm reading a book, and it talked about rulers that were all about the gold, okay? Very hungry, very greedy. And basically the country suffered because of their conquest for wealth. And you look at our country doing the same thing. Like, we're all suffering here with high inflation and barely able to make our grocery bills and eating poisonous food and then poisoning our air and our water. And you're like, well, how are you going to create a strong nation with strong people to be strong? It's almost like they don't care about us at all. And so they just go and try to destroy. And it's like, wait a minute. How is it that you're in charge of the well-being of the society and you don't care about us at all? Matter of fact, you want our destruction. Well, that only weakens us. That doesn't make sense, does it? I mean, in the long run, you're going to fail. I mean, through history, right? Anytime you go for technology over humanity, you're going to fail. And time again, the same story goes on. And it's like they don't learn because they're so blinded. And I think it really comes down to the Anunnaki genetically altering us, and we have that hunger for gold. They were just obsessed with gold. And so that's in our genetics. We're obsessed with gold. Well, the funny thing about gold is, like the South American people. I'm watching the show yesterday. These people are building these beautiful ornaments that they would just throw in the lake to honor their god. All this gold just thrown in the lake. Well, when Coronado came over and he's like, what do you mean this gold-dusted man is throwing gold into the lake? Well, they must be dripping in gold. We want their gold. Well, turns out they hid those treasures really well. And that lake was very deep. And they tried to drain the lake and everything to get at that gold. And then the bottom of the lake turned to cement once the water was out and they couldn't get down. I just laughed because it's like the gold doesn't want to go to you greedy bastards, you know? So many people died. They wiped out entire cultures. Some beautiful, peaceful, knowledgeable people just died, were erased by the greed of gold. It's so disgusting when you learn the history of man. It's like, how can we be so ignorant and greedy? Like, we don't even realize the real value in each other. And once we start honoring the gold in each other and loving each other, and you know, we're able to move forward as a people in a unified consciousness and realize that we are the gold. That's when our society is really going to thrive. That's when we're going to love our babies and clean up the water. We have the ability to clean everything up. Right now, we have the technology. They lie to us and make us afraid and say, oh, everything's going to crap and the earth is dying because of human behavior, blah, blah, blah. But we have the technology to clean it up. They just are creating the crisis so they can keep us all worried and afraid because they literally feed off our fear. These are parasitical entities that are in control of this world. And they actually thrive on our fear. So what I recommend for you, besides just getting knowledgeable about what the truth is, and start looking into some of these stories I'm talking about, and understand that there's a deeper foundation of truth, and all the lies we've been fed by religions and by governments and anything on the media. 6 companies own all media. Magazines, newspapers, television stations, 6 companies. You can't tell me that there isn't a program that they want us to know and follow. You know? They got us right where they want us. And I'm going to tell you where your power sits is within yourself. Once you realize how you've been manipulated and you start seeing it everywhere. Oh, I need a doctor. I need allopathic medicine. I have no power. I am a victim of the economy. All these things that we feel, we got to snap out of it, because we've got to live in a place of hope and love, and knowing that we're going through a dark night of the soul as humanity. We're right on the edge of going down a higher vibratory path. There is a new dimensional earth trying to come in right now that's going to blow all the bullshit out. And it's going to get difficult, you guys. It's going to be tumultuous. But supposedly, this timeline survives. It's just going to get pretty ugly. And unfortunately, sometimes it takes a lot of people dying. It's part of the awakening. That's all I can say is that, and I'm ready to go. I'm good because I know what's on the other side. I know that there's going to be a bunch of my relatives and my spirit guides and my angels. There's going to be a party when I move to the other side, because I have succeeded. I've lived through a very difficult existence. And you can buy my book on Amazon, by the way, Beautifully Broken, the Katie Hayes story. Get a little taste of where I've been and why I am the way I am and who I am. And understand the foundation that sometimes you have to go through a tumultuous existence to be enlightened as to a better way. I'm just grateful I found Gaia. It has saved me tremendously because it's given me a higher viewpoint of this entire story. It's gotten me up out of my victim pity trip, which is easy to sink into. Everybody, if you've been through a hard time, you had your heart broken, you've been betrayed, you've been trespassed on by the closest people to you. When you've been to the depths of hell, then you understand what I'm saying as far as it can destroy you if you let it. I mean, it's a test. This is all a test. This life we're living is a test. And to pass the test, you have to realize it's a test. That's the first thing you have to do. And then you have to realize, what is the best movement forward in my life? Does it feel good in my body to be a martyr? To feel bad about my situation? To live in my victim story? To pity myself every day and feel sorry for myself? Is that a win? Does that feel like a win? Because it's not a win. It's something you have to do sometimes, like licking your wounds after you get cut. You know, you have to take a minute and go, wow, what I've lived through. Holy cow, this really hurt. Oh, my feelings are really hurt. You know, and you have to sit for a minute with that, because you never want to repress anything. If you've been hurt, you need to sit with that and understand it's okay. Look how strong you are. You made it through. You need to pat yourself on the back. You are your own best friend. You are the only one that's really, truly there for you. If you rely on your children or your friends to beef you up, make you feel better, that is not going to carry you through. You've got to do the inner work. You've got to love yourself and tell yourself how amazing you are. You've been through a rough time and you made it through. That's how strong you are. And you're moving forward. Always move forward. Always say, how can I make my life better? How can I change my perspective? It's all about perspective, you guys. This whole world's about perspective. If you see something as terrible, that's your perspective. But if you see it as a learning experience and you can grow from it and you can build on that and say, wow, look where I'm at now because I understand the lessons that came my way through the people that I call evil, that tried to destroy me, that stepped all over me and hurt me, ripped my heart out and stepped on it, right? There are all these people in my life that have done this to me over and over and over. And I ask myself, why is this happening to me? And some people would say, why did I draw that to myself? No. If you did draw it to yourself, it's because you're still learning that lesson of how to overcome it, how to forgive and move on. You understand? It isn't about the pity party. It's about what are you going to do with the story? How are you going to build your life with these building blocks to make your life amazing? And guess where it starts? Right here. And in your heart. Open your heart. Get your heart and mind in a cohesive relationship, which means don't overthink everything. Get out of your head, into your heart. You want to feel your way through. You want to express yourself. You want to allow yourself to express yourself about whatever is on your mind. But you want to also reinforce your power. Your power is in your ability to overcome the hurt that other people throw at you. You don't give in to the way they've treated you. That's the trick. And believe me, I'm still working on that one. It's because I'm empathetic. I'm a loving, nurturing, caring human. And when people hurt me, it is the worst feeling in the world. It almost makes you feel like, what's wrong with me? But it's not. These are your teachers. They're showing you. You need to love yourself more. I am here for myself always, and I'm my biggest cheerleader. I'm the one saying, what a great job you did. Wow, you screwed up there, but man, you learned a lot from that. And next time you won't do that, and you just keep going. You don't ever beat yourself up for mistakes. That's number one secret. We all make mistakes. That's why we're here. This is Earth School. We're supposed to make mistakes so that we can learn from it and get better and grow. And the more we grow, the better we get, the more positive we are, the more light we shine, and the more amazing positivity that we can put out into the universe and be that beacon for somebody who's lost. And believe me, the people that have betrayed you and hurt you the most, they're the most lost. They're the saddest. They don't understand the purpose of life. They're not conscious to their behavior and how important it is to be kind. That's what we're all here to do. We're all here to be kind. That's it. That's the secret of life. Be kind. Be love. Love is the only thing that fixes anything. And so that's what you need to go out and do. But remember, be gentle with yourself. Be loving to yourself. Be your best friend and your best cheerleader. And it's amazing how you can get through some really hard things. I mean, I've gotten through my husband leaving me for another woman, my son dying in my backyard, my children rejecting me, my family turning their backs on me, and being alone. And just having somebody come in and take care of me every day. And it's really lonely. It's very sad. It's not the life that I wanted. But it feels like an initiation of like a spurring me on to make me make a decision about who I am and where I'm going. And I'm so proud of myself. And I tell myself that all the time because even my friends have noticed. They're like, my God, Katie, you are really handling your handicap, the death of your son, being alone. You're handling it so well. Like, nobody really understands how I can be so positive and be moving my life forward. They don't get it because most people in my situation would be so depressed, they'd be on some kind of antidepressant, they'd be in psychotherapy, they would be like sleeping all the time because they're depressed. I don't sleep all the time because I'm depressed. I sleep because my kidneys make me really tired. And yeah, I need a new kidney, so I have to go on the transplant program. But I'm trying to heal myself through my meditations. I use Star Magic Healing meditations all the time. And it does make, it's why I'm up right now talking to you at this time of day. Usually I'm sleeping by now. But these meditations are building me up. I believe that I can heal myself. I mean, I'm still going the doctor route, because it's knocking on my door. I mean, I really am tired of feeling this sick all the time. So I have to start dialysis soon. But I still go the doctor route, but I'm also supplementing with these meditations that keep me, working on healing myself. And I truly believe that I can. And that's part of how I'm going to do it. But I've talked a lot today. I had a lot to say. I haven't seen you in a while. And I really hope you got a lot out of this. I wanted to go more into the things I know about Knights Templar because it's so exciting. It's just, I just love how they skirted around the Catholic Church and spread their freedom all around Europe and in the United States and built this country. And I'm just so proud of them. I've heard people tell me that the Freemasons are demonic, and it's so interesting. It's like the serpent in the garden was Enki, by the way. And so in the Bible, what do? They demonize him. He also was the underworld god, so of course they had to make him into Satan. I mean, the church, they're always looking for the devil. They're the ones that created the devil. He didn't even exist before the Catholic Church. So it's all about fear. It's all about control. And you got to keep your head up and get informed. Don't allow these stories to just infiltrate your consciousness. Do some research. Look into it. Read the Gnostic texts. You get a whole different version. And it's just an amazing education I'm getting, and I just wanted to share it with you, and I hope you're having a blessed day. Thank you. Mwah.